Let's say Republicans pick up some seats in Congress on Tuesday. Who here thinks they're going to want to work with Democrats to get lots of constructive stuff done for the country during the lame duck period after the election? Who here thinks Republicans are going to be in a compromising mood? Who here thinks Republicans are going to want to take a softer line on things they have previously dug in their heels about? Anybody? Anybody want to bet? No? Actually, we do have a taker on this one. The taker is the White House. The Obama administration believing, at least according to what they say, that the Senate will vote after the elections to allow the military to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell, even though Senate Republicans blocked the whole defense authorization bill to stop that from happening just 5 weeks ago. The military is due on December 1st to release its own study on how a repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell would work in the armed forces. What the Senate will be voting on is whether the military will be allowed to repeal the policy after this study comes out and the President and the Secretary of Defense and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs certify its findings. Tonight, some exclusive reporting from NBC News Chief Foreign Correspondent Richard Engel on what that Defense Department study on Don't Ask, Don't Tell is going to say. Richard, thanks very much for joining us.
It's my pleasure, and I know this is a story that you've spent a lot of time covering and is very near and dear to you. So when I heard the story, you were the first person I wanted to tell about it.
Thank you. Well, the study is expected to have a huge political impact. What have you learned that it is going to say?
Okay. So obviously, as you and your viewers know very well, there's several processes going on right now. There's the legal battles over Don't Ask, Don't Tell, should it be implemented, the stay. That's one process that is going on. Simultaneously, the U.S. military is doing this feasibility study. What would happen to the military as an institution if the legislation was overturned and Don't Ask, Don't Tell is no longer the case and you can be openly gay in the military? So part of this study, the core really, is a survey asking soldiers how would they react. What would you do if you were told suddenly your commanding officer is gay? Would you follow orders? Would you take a shower? What about your subordinate, if someone who you give orders to? A variety of questions. There were actually two separate surveys, one that was carried out by with the Rand Corporation.
Okay.
And these surveys, which were quite extensive, would you move off a base if you found out that your neighbor was openly gay and there was a gay couple next to you? The findings are that for most soldiers, and this is not the sum total of all soldiers, it wasn't that big of a deal. And the answers were... There were four types of answers that the military were looking for in these kind of questions. The first, to all of those issues, the sensitivities, the first answer was, how would you react? Well, it's really not that big of a deal. Okay. That was one type of answer. Second type of answer that they were looking for, and these are types of answers because there were various questions. Second type of answer is, well, it's not that big of a deal. I'm a little uncomfortable with the fact, but if I have a question about how this impacts our relationship, I have a commanding officer, he's gay, and I don't know what that means, I'll go straight to that person and deal with it. So the first answer, I don't care. Right. Second one is, there's something I don't quite get. I'm going to address that directly with the individual, not raise it up the chain of command. The third is, I'm uncomfortable with this. I don't want to go to the person. I want to go to a third party and raise it with my commanding officer, chaplain, somebody else, which starts a procedure. It'd be like going to HR in your company. So the first thing is, I don't care. Second person is, I have an issue, but I'll deal with the person. Third is, I'm going to go to HR. And the fourth is, I hate it, I can't stand with this. Very negative answers. The majority, the number one answer, first answer was, I don't care. That's significant.
Okay.
That's the
predominant answer I got is no big deal.
The most common. Number one. Number two was, I would deal directly with the person involved.
Okay.
So when you put the two of those together, it is the majority. Now, there were some people who said three. They would go to the chain of command, and some four who hated it. But the answers one and two are considered positive. Okay. So these studies show a relative, if not positive outlook, at least an accepting outlook.
And so the military study is, as you said, the survey of the troops is part of it. It's an overall study of the feasibility of the issue, but at least in terms of this study, this survey of the troops, what you've learned is that a majority of troops, it's not going to be a major deal.
Not a deal breaker, that they're not going to be running from the Army in droves. A key thing that this study kept coming back to is that it's very important about the chain of command, what commanders say, how commanders act, what tone they set. The Marines were the most negative out of the services. They had the most people who were with negative responses. And the Marine Corps leadership has taken a stance and has been very vocally against this issue. And the study found that most soldiers and sailors and all different service members follow a chain of command. Right. So if the chain of command accepts this as the law, the data is that so will the soldiers.
So it doesn't tell us the full picture of what the military is going to say in that December 1st report, but it tells us what's going to be viewed, certainly politically, as one of the most important components. Fascinating stuff.
Thank you. Also, the most sensitive thing is also about, showers and what happens, and that's obviously has a gut response. But as of right now, a lot of people are asking, are there going to be separate showers for men and women and gay men? Yeah. And senior source said that's not even being discussed.
Yeah, it would be, in my opinion, it would be patently ridiculous, but of course it's part of the political debate at this point. Richard Engel, NBC News chief foreign correspondent, with a scoop on this for us. Thanks a lot, Richard.
My pleasure.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let me know if you find out anything else.
All right, I'll let you know.